Hi, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. And it's good to see you again, Susan.
Good to see you too, Lisa. And just so anybody knows listening to this today, I'm Susan Capurso, end of life doula and legacy specialist. Um, if you're listening, we usually all year long we release one video a week, and we've kept up on that. Except this past few weeks, couple months, right? We've been doing one every other week. So if you're not seeing them out there as often, you know why. Sometimes we need a little vacation too. So that's what we've been doing. But I'm excited about today's show. It's a little bit different. And I want to welcome anybody who's listening in today. And as most of you know, for those who have listened to us before, that Lisa and I really we're passionate about. We work in the field and we dedicate ourselves in this channel to end of life, right? So we cover everything that's involved before, during, and after end of life, going into grief and bereavement as well. But it's crucial to understand something that Lisa and I know wholeheartedly, uh, that tomorrow's never guaranteed, that the people in our lives, they pass away every day. And I don't mean that to sound bad, but it's absolutely true. Most often, yeah, there are illnesses, and we know 6 months, a year in advance. Unfortunately, nobody should have to suffer through that kind of trauma at the end of their life. But people die not of illnesses, in car accidents, in trauma, in tragic things happen every single day. And, it's a natural part of our human experience here on Earth. So just know that before we go into this, because if you haven't experienced loss, and I didn't for a long time, so I know what that's like too. But I guarantee you will one day, even if you're a little older and you're later in life. So this message is just for you to know that life is short. We're going to urge you not to take life for granted and to really seize the moment, because time is slipping away for all of us. And while the days seem long, with all of our responsibilities, the years begin to feel a little bit shorter with each passing day. So most of our videos um, that are viewed, of course, pertain to your unique circumstances. Not everybody needs to know about certain people we interview or other topics. But today's video is a little bit different. It's kind of a warning of sorts. And it's easy to say to everybody out here today, appreciate every day, appreciate every minute, be grateful for life, live in the moment. It's easy to say those things, but it's more difficult to put these words into action. So we think the words, right? We read positive things, we hear them, we keep them on plaques in our houses to remind us. But are we really taking the action to live them and take heart to their meaning? So I want to know what happened to those dreams that you once had? Whether they are could have been traveling the world, which is something I've wanted to do since I was probably 12 years old. Maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's writing a novel. And it's easy to say, I'll do that one day, until that one day is no longer an option. And that's what Lisa and I are here to tell you today. We've seen it firsthand. Don't let the dreamer within you fade away, please. Really, when I say make every minute count and live your dreams to the fullest, I mean it. And this is something I'm so excited to talk about today because I need to follow my own advice. And many people don't. So you need to live the life you want to leave and now. So to open today, Lisa, I know that we did a video about the top regrets that people have at the end of their life. I just want to start out with, I want to review three of the top regrets that I went back and took a look at. Not from our video particularly, but I did a little more current research. And before we dive deeper into what our show is about, I want to start with these three. So, Lisa, the first one I found, ironically, is I did not live the life of my dreams.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
A lot of people, a lot of people do that. It's a problem.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
It's a big problem. And there are many books out there, Lisa, that I've read myself as a doula, and and they talk about the regrets that people talk about. When I sit by the bedside, I have these conversations with people, and that always seems to be the biggest. That
So
I didn't realize that life would be so short.
So the reason why I became a career counselor is because I saw many people not pursuing. The first question I asked them was, what did you dream that you would be when you grew up? And what happened to that dream? It's really interesting, the responses. They didn't get support, or somebody, a bunch of people said, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't be that, or whatever. And it's really interesting that when they get back in touch with that again, they say, wow, it's a shame that I didn't even allow myself. And I love the fact that we can change life at any stage. Just have to have a little courage, and you have to want to believe in yourself enough to do that and take risks and all that. So I love career counseling for that reason, because I can bring back
It's the
some of
same
those
thing
ideas.
we were talking about today, right? It's the same thing. You just reminded me of something I saw on the news the other day about the 105-year-old, 104-year-old woman.
What is
I'm
the
almost
what?
sure that was the age. I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure. And she went back and got her master's that she never got when she was younger. And she
Wow.
did it over the last years. But they had a picture of her in her cap and gown accepting her diploma. And I got to tell you, it brought such a big smile to my face. And I remember saying to myself, my God, she looks about 80.
Wow.
You know, she does not look 100 and something.
Even at 80, I have people come to me and they're only in their 50s, and they say to me, well, I can't do this anymore. And I'm saying to them, stop. Don't block the opportunity because you're going to, feel that it's your age and you're blaming your age. It's just an excuse. So
Yes,
it's
it's an excuse, and you're not a victim, and we all have choices in life. The second one was I did not share my love. And I find that to be with overachievers, type A personalities, people who've worked just so many hours around the clock, 7 days a week, because it wasn't important to spend those little minutes with your family. Um, but it's also with people who have that personality, right? I don't know what I would call that. You know what I'm saying, Lisa? You're shaking your head, yes.
Yeah, so I brought up just before we were chatting about Irma Bombeck. So she wrote all these
Yeah.
things, all these great articles about life and about appreciating it and everything else. And her last article before she died said that she regretted the fact that she did not spend more time with her family. She was busy cleaning and cooking and whatever else she was doing, and it was only at the end that she realized that she missed out on time, and yet she had talked about it in all the articles. What, oh, to end up at the end like that?
Not
Horrible.
following your advice.
That's right.
So, and this is why this video is really important to me, because over the last 10 years, I've immersed myself in work and having fun and enjoying the little things. I don't feel like I'm as fun as I used to be, and I'm questioning that now because I don't want to be. I want to be that fun, happy-go-lucky person that I always used to be. So something changed and I'm aware of it, and I need to start incorporating those little things. I went to an Edgar Allan Poe event last night, something I would have never done. And actors and actresses, they got up just one at a time and would bring his short story to fruition on the stage.
Wow.
They also served a cocktail with each of the four stories relating to that time and what he enjoyed. And I got to tell you, it was one of the best things I've ever done. I had
Wow.
so much. I woke up smiling this morning, and
Wow.
it used to be where concerts were my favorite. I don't like poetry, and I don't like those kind of short stories. Well, guess what? It opened a whole new world for me. My sister-in-law had bought an extra ticket just in case and invited me. And I was hesitant, but I went and it was probably the best thing I've done in years. It was
Wow.
great. It was so great. So these things are important. The third one that I saw was I did not forgive.
Hmm.
So that's a big one. Maybe we wait for the other person to reach out first. That's something that I've found in my life with death and dying, as so many of you have out there, that relationships change afterwards. We've talked about that in several videos. Um, but you just can't feel like you can forgive certain things. So we may not think it's a big deal right now talking about it in the moment, like I can deal with it, it's in my head, it's in nobody else's head. But why is it in the top three regrets that people have when they're ready to leave this earth? It that tells you something, that it's very, very important in order to come full circle,
That's
right?
right. Yep. Yep. Wow.
So one thing I have to say here is let's talk about don't let anybody rob you of your dreams, right? I want to start out with that. So when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean the other person, your spouse or the person you live with or anybody, your partner. It has to do with you too, because you could be robbing yourself of your own dreams in life, right? So it's important, and I've said this before, to let that go, but to schedule it in your life. When we see something on our calendar, when we see a wedding, when we see we're going out to lunch with a friend, when we see, oh, this Saturday there's a barbecue I'm going to for 4th of July, you bet you go. You go, you find time for these things. So there are 7 days a week, 24 hours in a day. You can set aside one day a week, hopefully more on this project, but you can set that time aside. And if you put it on your calendar, I find that it's more powerful, enabling you to put your plans into action. So yeah, you're going to say, well, my dreams were this, this, and this. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do this, but I don't have enough money, or it's not the right time yet. These are two of the biggest excuses. But we're here to tell you that rarely do opportunities present themselves with the perfect moment. And I don't think it's ever going to happen, right? And if it does for you, it's a miracle,
That's right.
right? The best is going to come. You're never going to have enough money. And even if it's going on an African safari, I'm never going to have the money. I'm never going to have the time to do that. You will, and you do, by taking baby steps and putting that plan of action into place. You might not be on that safari in 4 weeks, but guess what? You may be in 10 months. And we all know how fast 10 months fly. We just started summer and I'm already seeing some Christmas things. Just stop waiting for the miracle. Take control of your life, set a date to make your dream come to reality. What were you going to say, Lisa?
It's about breaking it down, I think. I think that
Yes.
it becomes totally overwhelming to look at the big picture. But when you break something down and say, okay, I can do this now, and then 4 weeks from now, I can do this, and you work up to something. It's like savings, like we all save for things, right? We save for a present or we save for an anniversary, whatever it is. But you break it down into reasonable steps that you can achieve. And then you feel like you're getting somewhere
And
instead
we're
of
going to
looking
show
at this.
you
Yeah.
going to show you by the end of this video exactly how to do that because we have a plan for you. So, and I need to start working on my own plan, to be honest. It's easy for me to talk and to guide and support everybody else in the world, but never myself. So I really need to put this plan into action too. So my biggest thing always was to travel. I want to see different places. Lisa, you and I met one day and you sat and told me about all the places that you've been to. And I drove home with my mouth hanging open. Like, what? What is wrong with this picture here? Okay, I have never got to go to any of these places. And that was always important to me. But when unfortunately, I married and my husband decided to start his own business that took him to 50 states around our country. 50 states. And he bragged about it all the time. Maybe he wasn't on vacation with me or his kids, but he had his crew there. He saw places. He took a little time out to have an excursion on the side. I know he did, even though he tried not to tell me. Um, but that was my dream. And instead, I stayed home and raised my children. And I still haven't got to do that yet. So I'm going to follow my own advice in this video. I want you all to call me next year and ask me what I've checked off my list.
I want to
Okay,
talk about
so
travel for a second. I want to talk about
yeah,
travel because I have a few friends who are women who have said, well, my husband doesn't want to do this, and these are married friends, okay? Or he can't. Da, da, da. So I have a few friends who have chosen to do it on their own. Okay. There are single travel groups, women travel tribe groups. There's all kinds of things. So the obstacles that we put up and say, well, we can't, we have to forget those. It's time to eliminate those and stop putting these obstacles. There are, if you want to do something, you figure it out. You figure it out. I've got
you
friends
do.
who travel alone. I got friends who travel with other teachers. I got friends who travel with the neighbors,
I'm going to tell
groups.
you right now, Lisa, since you said that, it opened my eyes a little bit because I know what my obstacle is now.
Okay.
My obstacle is that I've wanted to travel to so many places so badly that I'm bulking them into, I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to travel to these places. Instead of doing what I'm about to explain to everybody and take baby steps, find the first one and just do something, whether it's get the ticket, whether it's research this week, whether it's make a phone call the following week. I've put in a bucket that obstacle. The obstacle is I've taken all these trips, all these traveling things, and put them in this bucket that I never got to do it, and now I'm getting old.
And you're not, by the way.
How come I haven't been doing this since I was 20? I went on one trip alone, and it was to London because I was going with a girlfriend who canceled at the last second. And I said, nope, I'm going. She's like, by yourself? I said, bye-bye.
Mhm.
Everything's I had a plan. And I went for 10 days. And I stayed in a very expensive hotel the first night because I was so scared. But then the following night I went to bed and breakfast. Well, I found a place for $22 a night. And I stayed for the whole 10 days. And I was a tourist and I learned all about London. And it's the biggest story I tell people today because it really shows that I do have bravery. Somewhere I was brave. I love to travel. So it taught me a lot of things in life.
Point
And
out
I'm
brave.
happy I got.
I want to point out brave, okay? Circumstances come up and you never know how you're going to react. I backpacked in Europe during my junior and senior year with a girlfriend I thought was a perfect, travel companion. She was not. And we were and it was a 6-week trip because we had our return trip. And in the 4 weeks, she left me in Switzerland and said she didn't want to be with me anymore and just left. I mean, like walked out the door of, the youth hostel and left. And I could have just run home, but I didn't. I spent 2 more weeks traveling by myself at the age of what, 20, 21, whatever I was.
That was about
And
how old I was when I went too.
you know,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and you know what? I survived. Thank goodness. I started traveling with other people because there were a lot of student groups that were traveling in the 70s. And I went to Belgium and I went to Luxembourg and I went to Amsterdam. I mean, and I'm very proud and brave. Okay. I'm very proud that I did that. And I'm alive to speak about it too.
That's right. And it teaches you so many things about yourself and gives you a whole new confidence. So we're not just talking about traveling. That's not some people's priority. So you need to really prioritize. Could be starting a business. Well, we're going to put the steps down and you're going to figure out how to maybe get your LLC first, how to go out and get a business name down at the town hall, and pay $40 for that name. Step gives you all kinds of confidence in your life that, wow, I'm a business owner. I'm going to make up my business card today. Wow. So these baby steps are little things that you can do along the way to make those dreams a reality. So you don't have that regret at the end of your life. Could be writing a novel. And I don't know if we've talked about this in a video, but it's the simplest thing. I wrote 3 nonfiction books. Okay. And so did Lisa. And all you need to do is get a pad and pen and write out the titles of your 10 chapters.
That's right.
Well, wow. Once you've done that, now you start at chapter 1 and you pour your heart and soul into that title.
Yes.
Right?
But I have to be honest. I have to be honest. I never thought I would be an author. Really. If somebody said to me, "Oh, you're going to be an author of these books," I would have said, "No way." And yet something inside said, "You have to do this. This is important." And you do it. And that's it. You just, take the risk. What's the worst that happens? Doesn't work out, doesn't sell, doesn't whatever, but you have done it. And that's what's important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're talking about. We want to motivate you a little bit today to say life is short. Again, one of these cliches, life is short. Really is. It is. Life changes in a second, seasons change. Another thing, once you start, and again, we'll tell you very shortly on how to get started, but once you start, really celebrate these milestones. And I know this is a big thing for you, Lisa, and that may not have been something that I've done over the last 10 years, because I have done many things over the last 10 years, right? To bring into my business, many different things. I don't think that I took the time out to celebrate them.
Great.
And say, wow, you're an accomplished author. You have a teaching website. You've spoken in front of crowds of 250 people and 500 families. And I've done a lot. I don't think I've ever celebrated those milestones. So let's hear your thoughts on that, Lisa, because you're very big on celebrating milestones. I know.
I am. I am. I think it just takes you, you have to step back and look at yourself and look at things that you've done, the little things, that mean something to you, that you went out of your way to do. All those things that you mentioned are wonderful, Susan. But if you don't give yourself credit for it, then it's not going to be inside you. It's not going to be
Right?
there for you. Yeah.
And you do that. I see you do that all the time. But we tend to think sometimes, well, it's not such a big deal. No big deal, and if nobody else is out there throwing a party for you or celebrating you, then it's not a big deal. Let's go on to the next thing. I'm very proud of this channel we've done with over 100
Me
videos, just
too.
to help people and educate them on the different topics that we know about.
I think
Um,
we also have to shed things that are on our shoulders. It could be family who said, you don't know enough, or you're not good enough, or there's things that weigh on people, okay? And they carry. And at some point you have to shed those things, let go. You first of all, you can't keep blaming the past, all right? And secondly, you have to say, I'm an adult. I can take responsibility now of where I am in my life. And this is now my life. It's not somebody who I had to do something for. It's not somebody I had to prove for. It's not somebody who I had to live for. This is me. And
okay.
I was taught that. I had to learn that. Number one, because I was walking in the shadow of someone else. And thank goodness I had parents who allowed me and encouraged me to find my own voice. But my circumstances were very unusual. To lose a mother at the age of 2, a 26-year-old, an only child, me being an only child, and to have a grandmother who was there when it happened, and just the whole situation was the breeding ground for me never being enough, me never, being talented enough, looking pretty enough, whatever it is, because to be in the shadow of someone who now is gone, I could not be a normal granddaughter. I had to be that daughter who they lost. So my circumstances were very, very different. And thank goodness I had parents who kept saying, you find your own voice, you find your own stuff. You don't have to be, her, or, you're not responsible for her, for the loss. As a young child, your mind just thinks it was something that you did or something, so to break out of that. So we all have different things on us that we're told or that we heard or whatever. And you have to shed that. At a certain point, it's enough. And you take charge, which by the way is very liberating. You say, hey, I'm a grown up now. I can do this, and it's my responsibility. It's my life, nobody else's.
I'm so happy that you brought this up. I'm so happy. And I'm going to tell you why. We all have that little voice in our head. We have stories from our past, and the majority of them we repeat in our own minds. Nobody else knows those feelings and those stories. You walk around with them in your own mind. So recently, I'm becoming more aware of this as well, because I found most of you, well, no, not most of you, but some of you may have heard of Michael Singer. Michael Singer wrote the book, The Untethered Soul. Okay, he wrote a second follow-up book and a course. So I love him, love what he says, but he's all about that. He's about releasing, he's about surrendering, and I cannot sing this man's praises enough. I've been a Wayne Dyer follower my whole life, a groupie in my own head. But this Michael Singer about releasing and letting things go and surrendering, if anybody is resonating with what Lisa's saying today about letting certain things go and moving forward, look up Michael Singer, and I'm going to tell you where to do it. Yes, you can read his books or his audio books. Go on YouTube, and they're free. So he does a podcast with just him talking, and everyone is about letting go and surrendering. And everyone I listen to, they're all about 45 minutes long. Everyone I listen to, I go, wow, wow, why didn't I think that way? That makes such sense. And I'm praising him now because that's how his thought process and what he teaches has affected my life. You don't need to think about those things. You're choosing to think about them. So just don't listen to me. What do I know? But give it a try. Listen to a couple of his and see if they resonate with you. And you'll know after the first one or two if they resonate with you. And then you're going to want to listen to all of his podcasts. But I had to throw that in there because that's been very important to me. So thank you for that, Lisa. Another thing is mindfulness, and listening to that podcast could be a way you practice mindfulness. It doesn't have to be to follow a yogi guru or meditation guru. By the way, there's a lot of guided meditations on YouTube that we've talked about before. Jess Shepherd. Oh my gosh, beautiful. Now all I have to hear her say is the first 3 or 4 words in her 40-minute meditation, and I'm down and out for the count. Not sleeping, but as far as deep wise and relaxed wise in a meditative state, because she teaches you how to do that. But there are many people that you can follow. You don't have to listen to us all the time. It could be something as simple as having a nice breakfast every morning with yourself and a cup of coffee. I've been doing that where my cup of coffee is no longer now doing things on my computer and working. I go out in the morning and sit on my back deck with all my potted flowers around me, and I have the cup of coffee. And I pause and I take a minute, and I kind of like it. I like doing that. That's just been more recent that I've been doing
Nice.
that.
Nice.
But it's nice. So even if it's 5 minutes a day, try and become more mindful in the things that you do. And I'm telling you, you're going to look forward to working on this project and thinking about what your dreams were and what you want to do most. And please don't tell me again that I don't have the time. Because if I told you that your favorite celebrity or spiritual icon or a loved one who's passed away that you miss so dearly would come to you and visit with you and sit with you and hold your hand and talk to you for 15 minutes every day for the next 30 days, but you'd have to go down the road to the local park and meet them on that park bench.
You'd go. You'd
Would
go.
you find time to do that?
Sure you would.
Would you find time to go and give them 15 minutes every single day,
Of course you would. Of
regardless of the chaos in your life and the daily? You would.
course you would.
You, you would. I don't care if it's God, if it's a parent, if it's a child, if it's Kevin Costner. I don't care who it is. You would make the time to do that. So this is important in your life, not to have that regret about not living your dreams. So prioritize, put them on the calendar. And now I just want to tell you a little bit. You want to add anything before I tell them what to do, Lisa?
No, I'm good. This is great.
Okay, good. So this is what I say. I say, and you don't have to listen to me or believe me, but I believe that this will work for you. So get out a notebook or a pretty journal or a pad, whatever you, a piece of paper, and make a list of 20 things that you've always dreamed of doing. They could be big or small, easy or complicated. Um, give give it some time and some thought. Some of you might come up with 20 things immediately. Most of us, that piece of paper will sit there on the living room table for several weeks. Maybe you can't come up with 20 things. The more time you put into that and think of what you would love to do, a dream that maybe you let go of that you always wanted to do, like my dream of traveling and visiting different places, give it some thought and write these 20 things down. Okay? Let a few days go by. Now I want you to go back and take a look at that list, and you're going to take your pen and strike through 10 of these. Now, wait, you're saying, hey, those were my 20. It was hard to come up with that. Okay? It might be growing gardenias in the backyard. Who knows? Strike off 10 of them right away. So now you only have 10 remaining. Leave it be for a few days. Don't think about it. You have your 10 things waiting on that list. A few days later, go back. I hate to burst your bubble, people, but you're going to scratch off 5 more. You might have to rewind this video for these instructions again, but this is the way you're going to do it. So you're going to scratch off 5 more, and you're going to be leaving yourself with the 5 top important dreams or inspirations of things that you've wanted to do that you've never done or never tried, and you always thought of, always wanted to go down to the local college and learn how to speak Spanish. It could be that. It could be taking a day trip and getting on a ferry and going over to Block Island all by yourself, just so you could feel brave and see some beauty. Could be anything, but leave your top 5 that are important to you because they're unique and they're going to be different than anybody else's list. All right, now you're going to walk away for a few more days. Go back to your list, and now you're going to take those 5 and put them in number order. Okay, the number 1 being the most important to you. The most important. If I could do this tomorrow, this is what it would be. And you're not necessarily going to do it tomorrow, but the most important one. And you number them in order. So now you have a new list, 1 to 5 of the things that are most important to you. Okay, wait a few more days or when you're ready, and then turn the page and you're going to write down number 1 and that title. Okay, getting on a ferry and going over to Block Island. I'm just making that up, right? So that's my number 1 thing that I want to do. And on that page, now, in order to bring that to fruition or anything like opening a business, like traveling to Amsterdam, like anything that you put on the top of that page, you're going to find that there's a series of steps you need to take. There's a series of steps you need to take to go to the grocery store. Okay, you need to think about some of the things you want. You need to get your shoes on. You need to get your keys. You need to get in the car. You need to drive to the store.
List. Make a list. But you're gonna forget stuff, so make a list too. All right.
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about making the list of details. Okay, so if it is taking the ferry over to Block Island, okay, for argument's sake, I would imagine the first thing I would need to do or want to do is maybe calling the ferry service and seeing what times the ferry goes out, what days of the week, how much it costs. Okay, number two might be, well, when I get there, can I take my car? Do I need to rent a Jeep? Because if you do go via Montauk, you have to rent a vehicle. You cannot take your car on the ferry. You have to go drive to Rhode Island and take that ferry in order to take your car. So there's things involved, research. Number three might be some research about Block Island. It's beautiful and it's not that big. Okay, so look at the things that you might want to see or do. There are many websites about Block Island. Okay, choose. I want to get on a moped and drive the island that way. I want to go to a restaurant for lunch. I want to blah, 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 blah. So do your research and have the things fresh in your mind. Number four, see, we're already on a list here. Number four would be now, okay, what is this going to cost me? Figure out your costs. Number five might be, do I have the money or not? And either way, when would this be convenient for me to go? Right? Can it be a 3-day trip, a 7-day trip? Pick a day. Maybe it's not going to be till next summer. And that's okay too. Right? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, right now I have 6 or 7 things on that list. Those are the kind of details that I want you to put on regarding that number one topic that you have. So you might have a list of 6 things. You might have a list of 22 things that you need to accomplish before that day comes to fruition and you can make your dream come true. But it will with these baby steps, right? If you're gonna if you're number one, and I'm sorry, I can't be a better help. If your number one happens to be, I want $1 billion in my savings account, that one might be a little more difficult to bring to light, right? Because that one may take you at least 10 or 20 or 30 years. I can guarantee you this. If it's on your list and you have the breakdown on how you're going to do it, I bet you will. I bet you will. That's never been on my list, so I don't know. But some are more difficult than others. You know, if you have a dream to grow gardenias in some pots on your back deck, well, that might not be so difficult, and maybe you can bring that to fruition in the next few weeks. You know, you still need to research and study gardenias and see if you're in the climate, see how much they cost, where are you getting your plants. It's all baby steps. So even though this might sound silly to you right now, I had to lay it out because you have to figure out what your dream is. Figure out what I want to do that I haven't done yet because life is so short. Then figure out over a series of days or a week or 2 weeks what's the most important and write down all the steps it takes so that you can get on that ferry and go over to Block Island and say, I've done it. And then guess what? You still have 4 more things to go after that. So you have something
Great
to do.
breakdown. Great breakdown. I want
Thank
people to take a step back and read the dash because the dash is really about what happens from your birth to your death. And
Do you
in
have
that,
them? Could you read it or
I
no?
love that. I have to, I have to stand on a ladder and bring it to, it's in my office.
Google
It's,
it, question.
it's, it's amazing. What it says. It's so amazing. So everybody should just look it up because they'll see it. Or just Google it, the dash. And actually, so wait, we could probably read it right now.
Lisa, I found it.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's so amazing.
Don't you just love Mr. Google?
Yes, yes. Anybody can find anything, can't they? Right? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Now, I hope this is the right one.
Okay.
There are two important dates around the life that we live that reflect the time we're given to laugh, to love, and to live. And between the date when we arrive and the date we go away, there exists a horizontal line that captures every single day. Because these days we're living seem to vanish in a flash, we need to make the most of that special little dash. We are blessed with opportunities as we tread the grounds on earth to build the loving legacy of our own death will be worth. To focus on what matters, not on possessions owned or bought, and smile every chance we get, and love with all we've got. To appreciate the here and now as each moment will unfold, because we're never told beforehand how much time our dash will hold. So if you need to make some changes, let this be the day you start to make a difference with your life. Show the love that's in your heart. For how you spend this life will someday be defined by everything that is remembered in the dash that you leave behind.
Love it. Love it. I'm so glad you found that. I didn't
Wasn't
even
that a
think of look, this is me at 70. This is me at 70 and you at almost 60. All right. You're up there on Google and I'm trying to figure out how to get this poem down.
4 years before I hit that age? So let's not be publicizing that. Thank you.
I'm just saying what a difference. And you can see now that things are so accessible. What a beautiful, it says everything that we're trying to say here. Everything that we're trying to say.
I
That's
really summarized it, didn't it?
it did.
Thank you for letting me read that. I'm thankful you couldn't climb up and reach your poem.
Me too. Me too. And I want to say one more because this is, and I think it was Lincoln, but this is really lovely as well. And this has been with me for many, many years as well. It says, life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the number of moments that take our breath away. And that's
Mhm.
just, that's it. That's really it. You know,
It is. So you know something, our video is slightly different today. But I'm happy because any positive or motivating changes that we can bring into our life now will affect, it has a snowball effect. So if we sit here remembering the stories and the thoughts like we talked about before, that will continue to happen. But if you go listen to Michael Singer's podcast, Let Go and Surrender, if you make your list of your top 5 dreams in your life, then guess what? In a few years, a few weeks, a few months, 5 years, 10 years, you'll have finished your list and you won't have that regret at the end of your life.
yeah, yeah. I love the way you laid it out, especially the way you put it down and that it's realistic to be able to achieve it. That's the other thing. We come up with all these things and then say, "Oh, we can't do that." That that gets you nowhere.
Aha moment that I had earlier about my traveling dreams.
Yes.
Right now, over the last 10 years, I've booked all of those places I ever wanted to travel into one bucket and said, I can't do that. Now I don't have time. And why didn't I do it years ago? And I can't do it.
Mm, mm,
But if I break it down, I bet you I can do it.
I bet you can.
And I will.
Good.
And it is
Good.
done.
Good. Good. That's great,
Great
Susan.
video today. I hope you
I know.
enjoyed it a little bit. Please like and follow our page and share it with some of your friends. We try and give value and education, and that's what we're here for. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them, but then contact us anytime. Our number is above, our email's above, and we're here to help in any way we can.
And also, if you have suggestions, you have things in your life that you feel are important that may affect others or that other people may share with you, please, we're always open to different topics. There's so many things to talk about life and everything that we have to go through. So we're really open I think it's 109 videos now, not bad. And we cover
Very
so many personal topics in such a personal way that people can relate to. And that's what we want. So we want to make a difference in people's lives. That's us.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful week, Lisa, and I will see you next
Yeah.
week.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.